All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today. I got a really exciting guest for us to have on today. Someone who has been working pretty intimately with my wife, Megan, helping with doing different forms of healing. So, a quick, just basic introduction of her credentials, what she does. Basically, she's a spiritual expansion mentor. It's helped transform tons of lives over about 1,800 women around the world. So, a lot of what I've found that she focuses on is basically women empowerment, really bringing power back to women. She does so by helping women deepen their true connection, their truth through healing childhood wounds, uncover hidden mindsets, blocks, and getting to the root of all that has been holding them back from living their most abundant and their most aligned life. She's a host of the Tailored Adventure to Happiness, founder of the Abundant Life Experience, and she's jumping on here right now. In the green room right now. Hello. Well, 1 second. Let me get you in here. All right. Pop you through. Good. Okay. Good. All right. You there? Awesome. So I was just going through a little bit of your bio here. So you could probably do it a little bit better than myself because it's about you, but basically talking about how you've been able to impact and empower over 1,800 women. I'm sure at the time that you wrote that, you probably have empowered even more women past that. So I'm really excited to have you on here, and I'm super grateful. Yeah, super blessed to have you on here. Megan and I, we were just talking about you. We just bought her a car.
So exciting.
Yeah. Exactly. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I'm getting ready to do this live." And she's like, "Well, I'm going to go down and go buy a car." I'm like, "All right, I'll be right there." So, why not?
Why not? That's how we roll. So whatever.
Exactly. So, I guess in a summary, real quick. So, how would you summarize, what you've been doing before we go into more of like the Q&As that I wrote out there? What would you kind of summarize what you do in like a little nutshell, so people watching this now and then after it's recorded, what should they know about you?
Totally. And just grateful to be here, and thanks for having me on. This is like this fills my cup up, having conversations. So I love it. And what I do is I really help women remember who they are, remember their truth by getting to the root of what their blocks are and going through, go through the chakras, but just like getting into the weeds of what's been holding them back from living their most abundant and aligned lives. And I do that through chakra work, through trauma work, through childhood wounding, through money mindset, all of that, but again, taking them on a path of becoming their most empowered higher self.
Perfect. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Because, ultimately, when we're talking about this, get that out of there. Hold on 1 second. Okay. There you go. So, whenever we're talking about, what we do, just from my standpoint, I'm a functional medicine practitioner, but there's a lot of women who, I even had a call with a woman today who I just did like a little preview of what we were going to be talking about today, and we had a consult, and she's like, "Jacques," she's like, you won't believe it. Like, I totally forgot my solar plexus. It was blocked. And so we're dealing with my adrenals. We're dealing with my gut health. And she's like, oh my gosh. She's like, so it was a reminder that I needed to go back and do that work. And it's pretty cool because she actually has a guru, I guess, that helps her with like acting. So like overactivating and underactivating chakras to be able to fit certain roles in certain acting roles. I thought it was really neat.
Wow. I mean, I could imagine. Yeah, 'cause you get like the heart, you got the throat. So it's like they need to be really balanced in order to show up in like a role that has an overactive throat chakra. So that's cool, and it really is. I love the work that you do because it's like that physical work, but what people don't forget, it's the physical work, but also I love that you're the holistic piece of it. Right, when we have the discomfort in our body through energy that's actually blocked, it can turn into physical blocks. It starts as energy blocks and then moves to physical. So it's the discomfort turns into disease, turns into cancer. And so I love the work that you're doing and allowing your clients to really understand that it's not just about the body, and it's much deeper than that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what it's all about too. Because I mean, really, when you dig down deep into it, like I get hyper focused with like the medical side of things, where I'm doing my testing, where I'm not treating it like a medical doctor, but then like I'm getting to the cause, and then I'm like, you know what? There's that emotional piece where I'm not a therapist by any stretch of the imagination, but there's been times where there's just been like you connect, and there's like this emotional dump that happens, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I go home and I'm like, I need to unload this. Like, I can't, I haven't been able to build myself to be strong enough to handle other people's emotional baggage because I have my own that, I'm working through on things. Exactly. So it's being able to use somebody like you or like introduce people to somebody like you that you're not like your typical therapist or anything. Like,
No.
And I've heard, like, I've eavesdropped. Megan will probably attest to it, but I've eavesdropped on a couple of your calls and stuff, and I'm like, this girl gets it. Like, she's on top of it. She's at the forefront. And when I'm not an expert in something, I delegate. I push it to you. You do your thing, and you help people, and I'll just kind of shut my mouth and just be like, okay, yeah, I trust her. She'll be just fine for you. So, yeah. So so I've got some questions and things here too. So obviously, like I'm big with like the hero's journey and really what got you to where you are today. So, I want to know, what was your health like before and what has your healing journey been along this whole path? And I'll let you talk for a little bit there.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Is it showing? It was a little choppy on my end. Let's make sure you can hear me.
Yep.
Yeah, so my kind of just a snippet of my health journey is kind of funny. I grew up and was a healthy, active, competitive cheerleader, did lacrosse. I grew up, my mom, I was that kid who had the boring school lunches. I had my parents, and the sandwich never had like GMOs. Intuitively back in the 90s, I didn't know what GMOs were, but she was like, these just don't feel right. Like something's off. So I'm grateful that I grew up in a boring food family, which allowed me to learn how to, tune in with myself. But then I lost that during high school and college and got consumed with how other people perceived me, and I became a chameleon, and I morphed into the groups of people I was hanging out with and completely lost touch with my truth and who I was in order to fit in, to be liked. I was, before that, bullied for being too much, for talking too much, talking too fast, my clothes, whatever, right? Anything that people throw rocks at things that shine, in other words. At that time, I didn't know what they were doing, so I fell for it. And, before I know it, I'm graduated college. I'm working on Capitol Hill here in Washington, D.C. I then worked for the UN. And on the outside, I was married to my ex-husband, spoiler alert, at that time. I was the same, not my current husband.
Right.
And on the white picket fence, the beautiful apartment, just living this on the outside, seemingly perfect life. I had the perfect outfits. But I had, up until then, completely lost touch with myself, with my health, with my mental health, physical health. And I actually, my rock bottom was one day I had just finished off a whole pint of ice cream, Oreos, bottle of wine, just stuffed away all of my emotions because I didn't have an ability to use my throat chakra to even share what I needed or what I was struggling with. And I knew that wasn't who I was. I knew that wasn't the mental state that my true self was. So the next day, I put myself in anger management and Overeaters Anonymous on the same day to get help. Because like you said, if you're not an expert in something, someone else.
Exactly.
And that's really what brought me into the self-development world, and where I realized, oh, I'm not the victim of my circumstances. I can take responsibility for how I showed up. Wait a minute, what? And so I began to take responsibility. I utilized I'm a Leo, I'm a manifesting generator. I've got a lot of energy, if you can't tell. And so that energy was being used in a very wrong way, by anger, by throwing things. Like I was like the Hulk. But like this perfect little princess Hulk.
Yeah.
And so I started putting that energy towards the gym. I started working out and then sharing my workouts online. And so that led to actually my first business of nutrition and fitness online. Quit my 9 to 5, took that on, and then went into the subconscious work, mysticism, spirituality, and as I've evolved, I've shared that journey online, and then my community has evolved with me. I have people who were once fitness nutrition clients 7 years ago that are now mindset, chakra work. They've even come to my retreats. And so it's really cool to evolve quite literally with my community, and just bring them along with me and let them know when I'm learning, when I'm applying, and hopefully they can take one nugget and apply it to their life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's huge as well. Is you were like the path burner. You paved the path for everybody, and it's like everyone followed in the wake. And as the wake pushes back, the bigger the wake is, the calmer it is, like right behind. So when you do that, it's just like a perfect transition to where you're going. So, for me, like I had a bodybuilding background too, and there's like, so, a lot of us get into these things because of like these deep rooted insecurities of a lot of it's inadequacy, not being enough. And so you're constantly chasing somebody else's expectations of you, and you're constantly trying to please everyone except yourself. And so people lose themselves. And even like there were shows that I did really well in, and it didn't matter. Like you always wanted more. You never felt like it was enough. And then when like my wife and I, we did a show and we just got done and we looked at each other, we're like, no more of this. It's not healthy. We get obsessed with self-absorbed, and it's like it was so toxic. And again, it was just from deep-rooted insecurities. And I didn't know that. I was a meathead. I'm like, I don't have any insecurities. Let's just keep pushing through. But in hindsight, of course, it's the man mentality. We're dumb, and by nature, I mean, kind of we are. We're a little bit Neanderthal, but but at the same time, like it's being able to push back from what you've done, because we get so hyper focused on one path, whether it be good for us or not, that when we're able to push back and really see with clear eyes without any damaging filters or anything, we can see it for what it was, and it was a stepping stone to push us closer to where we need to be. So it's amazing. But okay, so obviously that's going to be made you more or less who you are, with that motivation to move forward on things. So sometimes in functional medicine, we'll get bogged down in some tough clients here or there, but what is your main why? So what we find, like with functional medicine, is you have to have that strong why. So even on those bad days, you're like, oh my gosh, this stinks today. I know you're all about speech, and I love it, but sometimes it can still be difficult. So like, what drives you? What makes you keep pushing forward even when you get a slump?
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's a good question. And I actually was just talking about this on a podcast I recorded yesterday. So wow, I feel like I just talked about this, and I love it.
There you go. It was practice.
Right. I am a firm believer in having a why for everything we do, whether that's workout, whether that's a goal you have, anything. So yeah, my why is truly let's say for serving my community, my why is to really, it's almost like I'm helping that past version of me who didn't have her mind in a place that was in alignment, and I don't want anyone else to stay in that for longer than they need. Like I truly just want everyone to be like, okay, I'm ready to hop on the train of living my aligned life. So my why is just like to wake people up, to activate them is what I like to say. That fills my cup up, and in turn, like it's a win-win. My why is to help those people wake up, and then my cup gets filled because I love doing that. I love when that person has that breakthrough, that, oh my gosh, this one mindset flip, perspective change then every area of my life, Taylor, and then this happened and this happened. I'm just like, oh, like I love seeing people win and change their relationships, change their mind, change their body. Like that is, seeing people win truly is my why, like in every area of my life.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that, because it's those wins, and if you focus. I just talked with actually one of the docs I trained. We talked about this today, where like if you get hyper focused on like the bad days or the bad clients or the bad patients, then you gravitate a lot more of those to you, and you just turn into a giant magnet. So I was talking to him like, man, I'm like, You got to focus on the good, and that is what's going to bring you the good people, the people who want your care, the people who need your care, the people who are going to get the results that you intend for them. So keeping track of those whys, it's kind of like a gratitude journal. It's like, I'm grateful that so-and-so followed through because this is the amazing story that we got. I mean, this year has been like the weirdest year because I never thought that I would step into this, and my wife will laugh at this too, but I turned into like this infertility guy. I'm a guy, and I'm randomly working with these patients, and they're coming to me for infertility. I'm like, sure, let's give it a whirl. We had like 6 babies get born this year with just like basic, protocol. I'm not directly trying to help with infertility, but I'm helping them be healthy, make healthy choices, and by doing that, babies. So we're like, how did this happen? But those are those whys, because then I get to adjust those babies, and we're bringing life into this world. It's like, oh my gosh, boom.
And it makes up for all those shitty days. Like for me, it's like I love that because like my mirror is like forever. I'm polarizing. I talk about topics that most people don't enjoy talking about. It's part of my mission in life. Mm-hmm. And for every 10 asshole DMs I get, right, the other thousands of people that are saying thank you for speaking up, thank you for helping me. Like I'm like, okay, like for all the people who I change, for those people that kind of are just projecting their stuff onto me.
Yeah, and that's, oh my gosh, what you just said there was crucial too, where people are projecting their stuff onto you. That is, I mean, I wish like every adolescent, high schooler knew that, like. Because, I mean, shoot, I got bullied back in the day, and, like, again, hindsight, like, I knew it was based on, like, people throw rocks at things that shine. I was very good at sports. I looked a certain way, and people were jealous of certain things that I had, and so they would just automatically, and not to mention, my name is Jock. I mean, you could think of how many funny names people would come up with that, and that was my life. But in hindsight, all of those things, all of those thorns in the side, in that instant, it may have seemed like it sucked, but now I can look back and I can relate. And something like with your programs and things, you've been there. So when people know what it feels like, and like you have that instant connection where it's like, it's not just this fluff. I've been there. I've been you, and I am here now. You're seeing where I am. It's taken work, but I can help to guide you on that journey. I think that's one of the most powerful things that you can offer, for sure. Oh my gosh.
Like back to your infertility, like what a cool mirror for you, right? Are what we receive, and so for you being in that place of helping women receive means that you are at a frequency of also receiving. Like they're receiving a baby, and you're receiving, like, getting to support people. So that's just kind of cool. The place that you're at, the fact that you're getting all those women, means that you're definitely in a receiving state, and you're just it's a different type of receiving for them.
Yeah, sure.
But it's really cool.
Yeah, no, I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, so now so you did different, because this is important too. A lot of people, especially talking about like the fitness industry and things, have there been different fads and like dietary fads and gimmicks and things like that you've done in the past that you've learned from now? I know there's certain foods that help to heal certain chakras as well. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, such a good question. I used to do macros. What was it? IIFYM. Oh. It really wasn't that long ago. That just brought back a bunch of memories just saying that. Like hashtag IIFYM, which I love. So for me, I love macros. I am a proponent of learning what your body needs, but then moving that into intuitive eating. So I remember like keto and all that, which is great, helpful, but for women, I was never a proponent of keto for women. Short term, yes, but yeah, macros was a big one for me and for clients that I helped, and then shifted that into, okay, let me listen to my body. Do I need some fats right now? But also pay attention to your cycle as a woman, when you need fats, when you need more proteins, when you need more, like, denser carbs. And so that was a big one for me for sure. And then when it comes to food around chakras, if you just think about the color of the chakras, so each chakra is a different color, and it really actually reflects the foods. So the foods are what we eat, quite literally. So for example, for your third eye and your throat chakra could work blueberries, like acai, anything blue, anything rich, that deep color. And then it comes to the root chakra. It's grounding. So thinking about sweet potatoes, any type of potatoes, strawberries, apples, a lot of red, deep, rich colors for your root chakra. Sacral, that's orange, that's also some carrots, that's also strawberries, some cherries, bananas are great there too. And so just reflecting the color of the food to match the actual chakra. Your heart is green, so that's like chard, spinach, that's green apples, kale, anything with that earthy, green, loving kind of texture and quite lily color is helpful for your heart as well. Awesome.
I love that. Yeah, and that's one of the things. Again, I was diving a little bit more into that, and so I was seeing how, well, ultimately we are huge proponents of eating the colors of the rainbow. So you're kind of hitting in every single one of those categories. But then if you do have a deficiency, just like if you get a test back and like, oh, I've got yeast overgrowth. Well, okay, well now avoid these certain things, add these in, so that way you can feed the microbiome, so that way it won't be an issue further down the line. So you can do multiple things, and there's more than one way to eat. But listening to your body is one of the things that I think a lot of people don't give their bodies as much credit as they should.
No.
And so when the body speaks to them, a lot of times they're just like, shut up, I'll eat in a minute, or I'll eat what I want to, but the body's like, I need red meat right now, like I'm craving a steak, or I'm craving beef, or whatever it is, and like, that's weird, I don't eat that. Well, your body is smarter than you up here. Like, let your conscious mind let go and let your subconscious speak through you and tell you what you need to eat. That was huge with my wife too, because she doesn't eat red meat all that often, but when she does, she's like, I know I need it. My iron must be low. Like, my body's telling me to eat it. I'm going to do it. So it makes a huge impact.
Especially for women, again, the hormones. Like, each week, each day, for Christ's sake. Like, we're simple creatures. You men go through it in a 24-hour period. We go through it in a 30-day cycle. And so really, I love that she does that. And I do that as well. I could, I'm always open for the universe's signs on what to do next, and my body signs, but I always say I can never go full vegetarian. I'm pretty much a vegetarian, but not by like choice, because of listening to my body. Both my husband and I have slowly, unintentionally, just not eating like animal. We didn't mean to, but our bodies were just like, no, actually, I just want more vegetables and and mushrooms and that kind of earthy foods, which we've listened to that. But yeah, every once in a while, we'll both be like, hey, a nice steak sounds really good right now. And that's maybe once a month. So yeah, once you start listening, you're so right. Like, and just like tuning in and saying, okay, what do I need right now? And sometimes you don't even have to like feel it. You'll just hear like, you need fats, you need avocados or almonds. You'll hear what you need. It'll tell you quite literally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find my body speaks to me without me knowing that my body speaks to me, where like I'll have a cup of coffee in the morning and just randomly, like, I'll go into like zombie mode and I'll go over and I'll grab like my caprylic acid or whatever and I'll just shift it over. I'll put that in. I'm like, oh, mushrooms sound good today. Just throw some lion's mane or something like that in my coffee. I'll mix it up. I'm like, what? Like that?
What's happened?
All right, perfect. And then like my brain functions like at 1,000%, and then my energy obviously goes up like yours. But it's listening to your body, because again, like, your body was designed to heal, function, operate at 100%. And we try to let our man brain get in the way of it, and the more that we do that, the more we damage our bodies. And just a side note too, I've seen your new husband. Yeah, just for your new and improved. For those of you hearing like, oh, he doesn't eat meat, that he's got some meat on his bones. He's a jacked guy. Yeah, so you don't have to eat red meat. And I don't eat meat, honestly. I don't eat meat that often either. But the stigma behind it is you have to eat high protein to gain muscle mass, and you don't. You don't.
I can hear him in the shower right now. I wish he said that.
Don't bring him out right now.
Right. I love that you said that, because he struggled with that. He wouldn't mind me sharing this. He shares everything. But yeah, he did like ego and man. He was like, I must have protein, must have whey protein. And then he actually had a vegan bodybuilder come on his podcast and after that, he kind of was given permission by another dude, because you dudes need to give each other permission for everything.
It's true.
Women do the same thing. You guys are like on a whole other level. You're like, man card, here you go, take this. And yeah, like he looks like even better actually. He's like, I actually feel tighter since we took meat, animal products out of our diet. So he's like, I'm here for it. Like, I'll keep going.
Yeah, the results are there, and that's all we really care about. At the end of the day, does this work? Yes, awesome. I'm going to continue doing it. Awesome. All right. What would you say? Oh, I could actually, since you brought him up, so has he always been on board? Like, when did you guys meet? Were you already on this journey? Has he always been on board? Because what I find a lot is that when women try to grow, men try, like you said, people shine, you'll throw rocks at them. Men try knocking them down time and time again because from what other leaders in the profession, whatever, people will say, and even like Christian-based backgrounds will say, like, the women's place is just to basically shut up and say nothing and just clean the house. Like, that's all most people really accept as truth, and that drives me nuts. And if I ever told my wife to do that, she'd beat me. Like, I know that she would, and I love her for it. But so, has he always been on board? Has he always been supportive? Give me the ins and outs if you're comfortable with that, if he's comfortable with that.
God. I love this question. He gets this question a lot as there's a little bit of stuff about like, dude, have you like always been in this? So I will definitely take this one. And he knows it. We actually joke about it. So when we first met, we met like in the gym, talking about protein shakes, and we were all we were on the same bodybuilding team, like literally like fist pumped. And then it blossomed into what it is now. So no, he was not in the self-development space. I remember when I first went to his apartment, we joke about this. He had like plastic Tupperware. He had no organic food. He had like Oreos, and I mean, I opened the fridge and was just like, I'm not judging, I'm totally judging. He had like 100 count like thread sheets. Oh, it was so bad. And worst money mindset. We like joke about this. And worst money mindset. But like, I saw his light and his potential and his truth. Like, I saw beyond what he didn't know. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to lead by example. Because some people, you're like, wow, you're like, I don't want to do this. Right? I'm not meant, none of us are like meant to be our partner's guru. Our teacher, yes, but not like guru. And so it's like, okay, he's got hope, I see. And I knew like his aunt was a very heavy woman. So I'm like, okay, get down. And I know. So I just led by example. What I would do is he likes to, now he jokes that I did like mind voodoo on him. So I would kind of vet some podcasts ahead of time if we were going on a road trip. And it would be a podcast by a male. And I would know already the whole episode. And I'd say, get in the car. And I'm like, act like I'm scrolling, trying to find a new podcast episode. And I would just play it, or an audiobook. I'd play it, and I saw him kind of be like, ugh, whatever. But like, okay, he saw him living a happy life, so he was open to it. And yeah, he listened to these podcasts, and afterwards, I'm like, okay, what were your takeaways? What did you learn in that episode? To help, like, not like nagging him. I wanted him to be his own teacher, and so he'd share his takeaways, and then I would like leave books at his apartment. The very first book I left was Ego Is. It was a Ryan Holiday book, and then I left a Dr. Wayne Dyer Excuses Be Gone book. I would just leave him by his bed, just accidentally, and would accidentally open them up, and I would speak my money mindset language around him. I would never correct him, and so eventually he was just kind of like, okay, I'm here for this. And he started to see changes in his life and share these changes, and I would help him anchor it in. And so, yeah, what I see, and I have so many women clients that are like, my husband will not get on the train with me. What do I do? I'm like, stop being his mother. Stop forcing him to read the book. Stop forcing him to quickly get his money mindset. Like, we have to respect where each person's at on their journey. It's our only responsibility to stay firm in our truth, in our alignment, and allow them to hop on when they're ready to hop on. But if we like whip someone into like self-development, especially men, they are going to resist it. I like to call it the crazy girlfriend analogy. If we're like forcing him to propose to us, guess what he's gonna do? Peace. Like, he is not proposing. He's like, I'm out. Like, bish you cray. And so it's the same thing. We want to make sure that we're just like from a loving space, being open, being supporting, a little mind voodoo here and there.
It's allowed.
Yeah, it's allowed. They'll appreciate it afterwards, but just giving them grace, especially you men. You men are slow to catch up, and that's okay.
It's true. It's true. I was on a training with a doc 2 weeks ago, and he's coaching a couple clients and stuff. And it was a female doctor who was working with a guy, and he was like I think he was a triathlon runner or something like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he's an exceptional person. So I'm like, okay. And then she's like, he won't do any of the protocol. He doesn't think that anything's wrong with him. I'm like, all right, listen. I'm like, time out. Most men, especially exceptional men, are need to be right type men. So the more you force, the more you're gonna, like you said, it's gonna repel, and they're never gonna do it. Versus if you do the mind voodoo and you slip it in there, and then all of a sudden it turns into their idea. Whenever it's you plant the seed and he's watering it without even knowing it, and all of a sudden he's like, I think it'd be a really good idea to do some money management strategy. Like, oh that's interesting. I didn't see that coming. But really, I mean, it's huge. And like you said, with clients and stuff, and with women, like, it's because I take care of a lot of women, and it's unfortunate that there's a lot of this emotional damage that has been done over the years, whether it's from past boyfriends or past husbands or current relationships, and they try to grow, and even in like different communities that I work in, like if somebody's trying to grow in just health and development, oh my gosh, the comments that I get, like I have people that are accidentally eating like 3,000 calories a day of just solid, awesome food, and they're losing weight, and they don't have fat on them, but then there's people who weigh 300-400 pounds who are uncomfortable with somebody changing and bettering themselves. Are like, you're sick. You must eat this. You have to eat this and this and this and this. And it's like, oh my gosh. And then I'm like trying to throw like this random protection bubble, like just wear that. Like, don't listen to them. And it's tough. It's so tough, especially for women, because they're more emotional creatures than men. Men, we're thick-headed by nature. We have the testosterone dominance, and when women have the estrogen dominances, and it makes you more emotional. So it makes you more susceptible to insults and ridicule and emotional damage. I still like, my husband and I go to therapy because I still got that damage from ex-husband, one of them. I act like I've been married 30 times. It's true. Like, and that's where doing that work and unpacking stuff from the past is important. Mind, body, physically, health. Or else we project our old shit onto current situation. It's not fair for anyone involved. No, because we don't know what happened in the past. We just see who this is, and unfortunately when we're dating, we're putting on like the highlight reel. And I know I did this for sure. Put on the highlight reel, like this is like, oh my gosh, I used to use superlatives all the time. Megan busted my chops. I'd say phenomenal and whatever. I think she said like one of these times, or like when we first started talking, she was like, you always said that things were phenomenal, or like you would joke around and say you're phenomenal. I'm like, now our son says it. I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's seeped in there, but I'm not ashamed of it. But we meet it, and we meet each other where we are on our journey, and then we start to like slowly unpack it. And I was flawed in that, like, I was always thinking, let the past be the past. And I can typically do that. Like, the past doesn't affect me. I accept it as is, and it learned, and I'm learned. And I feel like I was, from birth, I was ordained to already live this life. So this was just like, okay, like I'm just turning the pages of my book right now on kind of like a choose my own adventure, but like my path has already more or less been paid for me. So like, I'm cool with this, and whatever happens, negative, positive, whatever, I'm like, that was, my soul knew that was going to happen, so I'm good with it. But then I didn't. It caught me in this bind where I didn't put my listening ears on, where I would listen to my wife. I wouldn't listen to Megan, and she would bring up like past stuff. I'm like, it's fine, like don't worry about it, like it's okay. And she's like, no, like,
but,
and then do it.
That's like the worst thing. And I literally are currently that right now. Because it's like you guys are like you guys look the same human. I'm like, that's hysterical. I hear that. It's like you guys. Well, men can compartmentalize, which actually ends up in the long run not being healthy. And you don't know any better because you're just told like, suck it up, stop crying, like move on, right? The move on was like the classic thing that men got growing up, little boys. And us, right, there's no such thing as a big or too small of a problem. Every problem is every problem is like right. Even like if you look at me the wrong way, that's just as bad as you doing something to me. And so what men need to realize, because it's not us being too emotional, which is like how society has made it, it's us just having feelings. And some of us have more feelings than other. I am one of those people. I feel everything and I get emotional about everything. And our partners have to accept that. They do. They really do have to unconditionally accept that we are going to take everything to heart. And it's up to us to process it. Women, we can't be toxic feminine, which then projects it. We can't be victims, but we have to be given the grace to process something. And the partner needs to know she's, in my perspective, being a little crazy, but that's okay, right? Like it's her processing in her own unique way. And as a man, it's my job to hold that space and not try to fix it, not try to solve, right? Like you men are great at trying to fix our problem.
Yes.
True. Like you really do have to do that dance of that masculine, feminine, and honoring the space. And then you get into that good groove where everyone's healthy, everyone's on that path together, and you're on the same page.
Yeah, and that's huge. I mean, and really, that was one of the things that, you know, with Megan doing your Send program, like I always knew that she had the ability to kind of tap into that, like, and I knew it was there, and like I was actually the oversharer of problems, and like I'm huge with energy, so like if she had somebody looking at her the wrong way at the grocery store, she'd come home and I'm like, ooh, like what's going on with your energy right now? Are you all right? And she's like, what? I'm like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm like, but you're not. I know that you're not. And so I just keep pecking. I'm like, it's not. And then like 2 hours later, she'd be like, you won't believe what happened to me at the grocery store. I'm like, I knew it. But like, as men, like I'm such a, and it's like it's like a design flaw. Like I can't not, because I am emotional. And when I feel that energy change with her, like I would want to do anything and bend over backwards to get her out of that pain and suffering, to bring her towards like pleasure and abundance. And in trying to do that, it does the exact opposite of that. It pushes her further away and clams her up. I'm like, So it's just such, like you said, I mean, it is, it's the balance, it's the dance between the two, and knowing when we just have to shut up. And we do this thing where it's like, Megan will tell me something and I'm like, I just need to know, do I need to fix this right now? Or do I just need to listen right now? And she'll be like, I need you to listen right now. I'm like, this is going to kill me inside, but I'm going to allow for this to happen. It hurts, but I'll let it. So
and that's where that clear communication comes in. And it's a win-win for everyone. Like we want to be each other's best teachers, and each other's biggest triggers. And that's where you grow, and that's where you expand, and that's where you deepen into your own unique path. And then you're on it together. You're never going to be on the same level. You're going to do this up and down. But that's where you get to grab each other's hand, pull each other up, or yank each other back down, right? And it goes back and forth.
Exactly. I love this. So let's, because I mean, we could probably talk for hours, but I want to respect your time because I appreciate it. So when again going back to like the chakras and the dis-ease leading into disease and things like that, what would you say in your experience, what have you learned or seen the most with women? What chakras tend to be damaged the most, and then what disease processes, so that way people can kind of put the picture together that this stuff does happen. What do you see the most in your experience?
Oh my gosh, sacral for sure. That's the second one. That is that sexual trauma. That's also your creativity. So people think that sexuality and sexual trauma and your sacral has to do with just sex. It's not. It's also your ability to be intuitive, your ability to be creative, your ability to create life. It's your creatrix. So definitely sacral. That's a huge one. I know the girls that are going through Ascend, a lot of them are still in week 2 technically, because it's heavy shit. Like us, women have so many stigmas, so much trauma has happened to every woman, no matter little t or big T trauma, it doesn't matter. And so there's definitely a lot of like PCOS, just crazy periods and cycles that aren't healthy, that are a lot of cramps, not being able to conceive, what you actually work with. unintentionally work with.
Yeah.
And so sacral is a really big one. Also throat, that tends to be one that gets blocked because really they're actually one and the same. The larynx and your ovaries look the exact same. It's pretty wild when you do a photo side by side. The opening to your cervix looks like the exact same opening to your throat. So they are truly, truly connected. So when women haven't worked through their sexual shame, trauma, that could be just, when I say trauma, that could be have had a lot of sex in college for attention. And that's trauma. That's stuff you haven't worked through. And so that affects your ability to speak up, to say, I'm worthy of sharing my voice. I'm worthy of sharing my truth. Because if you don't feel worthy of sharing them, it's due to putting yourself out there sexually from a not enough place. Therefore, I'm not enough to speak my truth. And so once you start doing work around your sacral, your throat chakra actually automatically begins to open up, because your sacral, right, whether that's sex or anything, asking for what you want, for what you don't want, what you like, what you don't like in sex relates to life. Are you voicing to the universe what you want, what you don't want? Are you setting expectations and boundaries? Are you setting those boundaries with your voice? So those go hand in hand together and are super common.
Yeah, I would definitely, I mean, 1,000% agree with that, especially like with women with just the symptoms that they come in with.
Yeah.
That's like, I mean, it's so much of that. I mean, PCOS, infertility, endometriosis. I mean, you just paint the picture and boom. And then if you think about it, like, and it stinks because it's like I know I always mess it up, but the preacher, teacher, mother, father, like it's all of those things that were taught to you through generations of what is and what's supposed to be and what their expectations are. And again, it's somebody else's expectations imprinted on you. And then it's like, it's really like, and I'll throw it out there, and I don't know how you feel about it, but it's like old school Catholicism, where it's like you always have to prove yourself as enough to be able to receive. And it was like, it's like this checklist, like, what did you do today? Did you do enough things that were positive that you were going to be in my grace? It's like, whether it's God or parents or preachers or teachers, you're always trying to shoot for that goal, and you're throwing yourself away as you're trying to do that. But my goodness.
I work with a lot of women who grew up in a Catholic household, and we do some work because they're like, it is all messed up down there. And so we get to the root of like, oh, all those things that I was told were based around shame and based on other people's beliefs, and none of those are actually my beliefs. Therefore, I'm going to take them out of my backpack because they are not mine. They're not bringing me joy. And a great place to start with sacral healing is actually is really writing down. A great easy thing to do. Same thing for money mindset is write down what unserving, out of alignment, they just don't make you feel good beliefs you have around sex, around your sexuality, any of that. Write those down. And then literally go through each one and write down the name or the person or the movie that gave you that.
True. Yeah.
Like, really. And then look at it and think, oh my God, none of these are mine. I was gifted these by people who just didn't know any better, right? Our parents did the best they could with what they got. Our preachers and all that didn't know any better. They could have, who knows? That's a whole other topic. But then really getting clear and saying, I give this back to you. Like, thank you, but no thank you anymore. This doesn't serve me. And then that's bringing in the news story. So like across the piece of paper, you could do this in 2 columns. Write down your news story of every single one of them. And it's a long-term, consistent practice, because it's not just, you're not going to heal any sort of sexual shame, especially women with shame, overnight. It is I'm still unpacking stuff that I didn't thought. I was like, really? We're still doing this? Like, this is still an issue. And I've been doing this for a while, but if you're committed to it and realizing, got it, this is coming from this story, from this time, not mine, forgiveness, compassion, come back home, and you start to slowly rewrite that, your beliefs about yourself, your body, how you show up, voicing your desires, and do that same thing for your throat chakra, of saying, okay, what areas of my life am I not speaking my truth in? Am I not voicing my desires? Am I not having tough conversations due to fear of abandonment, due to judgment? So getting to the root of why you aren't voicing what you want to voice, which is usually judgment, abandonment, failure, being seen for the real you, which is a whole nother, onion layer to peel back. But you can keep going down both of those chakras that way.
Yeah, I think that's also important to know too, where you kind of you threw yourself in there again, which again you're on this journey. So a lot of people, even like with what I do, it's the expectation of, well, how long is this going to take?
Yeah.
It depends. I mean,
Long
everyone
time.
is completely different. How big is your bag? How big's your bag of toxins over on my side, and how big is the bag of emotional or whatever it might be that you need to unpack on things on like your side. And so it's one thing that I know that one of my buddies, Josh Ack, said this too, is like health isn't a destination, it's a journey. So I don't know what just popped up there, but yeah. So
reminder for Q&A.
There you go, perfect. But yeah, health isn't a destination, it's a journey. So you're either working on going towards health and healing and well-being, or you're going towards sickness and disease. And every day you need to work on these things in order to be able to get that kind of fixed and situated. And I think the stuff that you do is absolutely like invaluable, and that's why I wanted to interview on here, because I want everybody to know that first off, they don't have to be ashamed of who they are. And I didn't realize how bad it was until I started working in what I do. And, to see, like you said, there's another layer. Like what I do is over here, but there's more layers of stuff behind there. I'm like, yes, like people go, push to this side, go to Taylor. Like she can handle all that stuff. Please stop unloading on me. I can't handle this anymore. Like I don't want to speak that I can't, but like it becomes a lot for me. And I know that I'm not emotionally built to be able to handle that, because I have a big heart and like I absorb it.
Yep.
I mean, there's been people that for the first probably 2 years or so in practice, like I'm taking care of their health for them, and they don't care. And I'm like, I'm losing sleep. My health was going down. I'm like, why won't they do it? Like they've got cancer or they've got this. Like why? What do I have to do? And I'm putting it on me instead of like, what is it that's going on in your world that's stopping you from choosing this path?
Yes, and what like a beautiful like coinciding. I'm always I speak with a lot of business coaches on and had this kind of conversation, because you can have all the strategies to build a business, but if you aren't doing the inner work to unpack why you aren't showing up on Instagram story, well, you're not going to succeed in your business. So I love that like, wait a minute, your body's not going to change with everything I tell you to do until you get to the root of why you aren't doing the things in the first place. So they really do. People think it's like a this or that. It should be a this and that, non-negotiable for everybody.
Absolutely. And again, and knowing that like just as easily as somebody can go back into sickness and disease on I'll just say my side, your side, on my side of things, it's not just like when you unpack all your stuff, it's not like these traumas are never going to happen again in your life. It's not like you're going to have abrasive people, unless you do a phenomenal job and do what I want to do and just hide in a mountain somewhere and just wall ourselves off from society, especially this year. Be a fantastic, or buy an island or something like that and just disappear. But I mean, it's always going to be a battle, and it's like you have the angel and the devil on your shoulder. And again, it's just you got to be hyper focused and hyper obsessed with moving in the right direction, and that's where that why came into play. That's why I asked you that in the beginning. You have to have that strong why, because even Tony Robbins will talk about the pain pleasure principle, and pain is such a strong emotion for people that they want to move away from it. So recognizing it for what it is and remembering who you used to be and why you never want to be that person again, it served their purpose in that season of life. But now there's a new you. There's a new you that's out there, and you're moving towards it. Don't go backwards. There's no going backwards. Burn the bridges or burn the boats. Go this way.
Yeah, it really is important. It's leaning in. I always like to say leaning into the discomfort, knowing that on the other side of that discomfort of the shame, the self-doubt, the unworthiness is like exactly who you're meant to be. But at first it's shadow work. You gotta just lean into it, bathe in the uncomfort. I like to joke, like changing the story of uncomfort doesn't have to be painful. Uncomfort can be exciting. You can be curious about being uncomfortable. You can find beauty. Like whenever I'm triggered by someone, I'm like a crackhead with it. I'm like, yes, like I'm triggered by yay, something's coming up. I get to heal it. I get to release it. Like I thrive to fail, to be triggered, like because I change my story on what it doesn't have to be painful, it doesn't have to be hard. It means I'm literally peeling back that snakeskin layer and evolving that next level for myself. But so it's just a simple reframe.
Yeah, instead of thinking, what happened to me, it's like what happened for me.
Yes, exactly. Like,
It's just like you said, a reframe. Like,
Yeah.
your perception is huge. I mean, talk about, like, we can't go into the subconscious mind because we'd be here all night. But I mean, really, like, our conscious mind tells our subconscious mind what to do, and whether we believe it. And again, like a cancer diagnosis, you got 3 months to live. Your body will literally rewire itself to kill itself in 3 months. It's crazy, and it's researched.
Yes.
So this stuff is powerful. Yeah, it's not just made up, magical stuff. This is legit stuff that's been researched. But I'll try to wrap this up because, again, like, we can talk all night on this. But what are some quick, like, applicable things that people can do? Whether it's how to analyze. I mean, what would be like a quick, like, because you do so in depth. I'm trying to think of a way to say. What would be a quick way or easily applicable things that people could do right now or tonight or tomorrow to start on this journey for themselves?
Yeah, I got a really easy answer for you, and I actually knew where you were going with that.
Okay.
Like, yep, I know exactly.
Okay.
I know exactly what to deliver on this one. Check in with your body, so your heart and your gut, especially for women, like in your sacral and your solar plexus. But like, be almost a micromanager for like 7 days straight. Before you start an activity, before you make a decision, before you eat something, literally take a moment. Like, it's almost like every transition from brushing your teeth to going on Instagram to checking your email. Give yourself a 5-second body scan, but body from heart to your sacral. Even putting your hands over them and thinking, okay, where in my body, my heart or my sacral, am I feeling any sort of way? And so if it's expansive, it's in your heart, great, you're in alignment. But if all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm feeling a little like edgy, a little nervous, a little something's going on, lean into that. Ask yourself, okay, am I out of alignment with what I'm about to do? Is this the best use of my time, i.e. social media? What am I avoiding? What am I self-sabotaging by reaching for these Oreos? Because your body will be like, no, like it will. But we're so go, and we're ingrained to go fast. Obviously, there's a whole other conversation of why we're ingrained to go so fast. Mm-hmm. But give yourself the gift, which is a 7-day challenge of micromanaging your heart, your sacral. Tune in, whatever answer you get, lean into that, and before you know it, it becomes a habit, and yes to this decision, no to that, yes to that, no to that, and it becomes your normal.
I love it. Yeah, I it's just, chipping away at those things, and the small, like, some people just need to get their pinky toe wet. Other people just want to dive in. So for the people who want to dive in that are like me or like my wife, what would you, because I know you got a lot of things to offer, a lot of programs to offer. I know that Megan's doing the Ascend program right now. And she's, like I said, she's been absolutely loving it. And just a quick, like, snippet on it, like, I don't know if she's told you about this or not, but, like, what you did for her helped this pregnancy, like, tremendously. And, like, she was able to feel stuff. She went into this birthing process like a beast, and she was so in tune with everything that was going on. And the only thing that really changed between having our son and having our daughter was working with you, and it was just it was awesome. So
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And that's what I want people to know this stuff. What programs do you have to offer? Where can people find you? I know this, but, like, from your standpoint, where can people find you? Where can people meet you and get started with working with you?
Oh, thank you so much. And I'm so happy for you guys. It always makes me like, that fills my cup. Case in point. I'm like, that's my why.
Yeah.
I'm done for the day. So for Ascend, that will be opening back up most likely end of January. A next class of Ascend will go through. I've got the Abundant Living Experience, which is my membership that's open year round. It's a monthly. That's really the only thing that I have open right now. But cool. I have a podcast, so I'm always like, go listen to my podcast. There's so many different topics that we dive into: shadow work, chakra, money mindset, energy, frequency, all that goodness. That podcast is called A Tailored Adventure to Happiness. But really, come shoot me a DM on Instagram at I am Taylor Simpson. Super easy. You're gonna get a creepy voice message back from me because I'm a voice messenger. It might be why I'm on the treadmill.
I did notice that. I was like, always she loves these voice messages
while I'm walking on the treadmill every day. I like to multitask, and only when it comes to that, nothing else.
Sure.
Yeah, come to me a DM and just
Okay.
let me know what you're working on, what you're leaning into, and I can guide you to a book. I love recommending books, especially when I don't have like a program open. I will literally just give you like book recommendations, podcast episode recommendations. I'll pour all of the things I possibly can to support you in that way.
Yeah, and one of the things that I did notice, and kind of on that note too, is like, first off, like you didn't have to accept. I don't ever really shoot people DMs. Like I still don't even really know what a DM technically is, even though I have like 3 Instagram pages. But it was just one of those things that was on my wife, Megan and I's heart, and we were like, let's just reach out and like, who knows if this is gonna happen or not. But like, and what people will notice is, from what I'm able to tell, and I've met my idols before, and some of them were terrible people, and I know that now, but you seem like a super genuine person, and Megan is always saying too that you tend to go above and beyond. So like, even in the Ascend program, I think you threw on like a bonus call.
We had a 3.5-hour bonus call.
Yeah, I know, because she was on it. Like, you're still on that call. I'm like, holy cow.
You said like,
yeah.
She's like, you still in there? I'm like,
yeah.
We're going
Well, that's perfect, and that's what, like, you give people what they need, and you meet them where they are. And like I said, like, I've heard bits and pieces as I'm walking through rooms, or like I'll walk in to get my son as you're talking to people, like, oh, leave mommy alone for a second. But like, you're super genuine, you're super on top of it. You've been going through this yourself. I mean, you've been through crap, you're still going through crap, but on the other side is this beautiful picture of who you are and then who you want to be. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you've done for Megan, and then hopefully for the people who reach out to you here. Like I said, this will be posted on my Facebook page. I'm gonna chop it down to IGTV. I'm gonna throw it onto my YouTube channel as well for people to get at. So that way, I'm trying to hit as many people as humanly possible to get this information out there. So,
thank you.
Is there any closing remarks? Any other things you'd like to tell anybody else?
Oh man, actually, what's coming through? It's funny that this is even coming through. It's usually like something motivational or like just do the thing. And Megan's definitely probably heard me say this before, and it was a message, and we'll be like, wait, past life regression. So it was a message I received in my most recent past life regression. When I literally like died and went to like heaven. I don't believe there's like a place heaven. I believe in like the universe.
Sure.
And what I was told by all of my guides was the world needs different. And so I love that you asked this, because and I know why this is coming through. Whether that's nutrition, fitness, your mind, your body, maybe a relationship you're in, maybe the career path you're on. If you're doing it because it's like the status quo, or what you think, or you saw it on Pinterest or on Instagram or whatever, even my podcast, I don't know, whatever, you're here, and it doesn't feel right to you, but you're doing it anyways, do different. Like, the world needs more people who are doing things differently and going against the grain, because that's the only way we're going to continue to evolve. Otherwise, we're all just going to sit in the matrix forever and always, and that's boring. That's super boring. So the world needs different. Do something different. Be different. Go against the grain. Fitness, nutrition, mindset, all of that.
Awesome. Thank you for that, and I will leave it at that because I can't beat that. So, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun.
Awesome.